Rotarians and guests, my name is Bernie McIntosh and I'm your MC for today. We would like to acknowledge the Rotary and Rotary people of the Kulin Nation and also pay our respects to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians present today. Welcome to our hybrid meeting to those online and in the room. Please ensure your glass is charged for the loyal toast by President Catherine. Thanks will be delivered by Cheryl Lace.
In 1942, a Rotary district in London invited education ministers, many exiled, to a conference. This event inspired the creation of UNESCO, the United Nations educational, scientific and cultural organisation. Its noble vision was education as a path to world peace. By 1945, 49 Rotarians served as delegates, advisors or consultants to help establish the United Nations Charter. In 1947, Rotary International was officially named a consultative non-government agency to UNESCO, tasked with the dissemination of information. UNESCO's approach to world peace centred on fundamental education as the path forward. This meant concentrating on the most pressing problems of underprivileged communities to preserve their culture while advancing them economically to thrive in a changing world. Haiti would be its pilot project, but due to overambition, lack of funding and a poor strategy, the project struggled. Cuba then launched a mass literacy program, closely aligned with its socialist agenda and the shifting international climate, using it to promote progressive ideologies. Around the same time, the UN launched an experimental world literacy program. By this time, most nations knew how to improve literacy to drive socioeconomic change. The political priorities had many saying, we don't really want to. Today, we see that these earlier efforts have fueled ideological conflict. Competing vision has brought new battles and destructive consequences. One truth is clear. In 1942, world peace meant different things to different nations. The same holds true today. In keeping with Resolution 24 of Rotary's 1923 policy on community service, there's two critical questions to ask. What is the job that needs to be done? Can an existing agency do it? If so, strengthen it, don't duplicate. If not, start a project that will. May all of us draw lessons from the past 80 years to understand the meaning and purpose of peace from different vantage points. And may that task be the first step in agreeing on responsible freedom and a world without war.
Thank you for that reflection, Cheryl. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to raise your glasses, a toast to Rotary International and to Australia. Please be seated. We'll now take a break for lunch and recommence at 1:05. Members, visitors and guests, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our 13th meeting of the Rotary year and our 5050th club meeting. It's wonderful to see you all today and for those attending online as well. Our guest speaker today is Damien Cardona-Onsis, Head of Mission, Director, United Nations Information Centre in Canberra. And he's going to be speaking about cultivating a culture of peace. We are indeed grateful, thank you, for coming today. He's flown in from Canberra just to be with us. Will Abdo kindly introduced Damien to our club. Will be inducted today to our club, so I look forward to doing that shortly. In the meantime, would you please join me in acknowledging and making them welcome. Now, we have a long list, I must say, of guests and visitors today. To be mindful of time, I'm not going to list out all the names. I'll just provide a few names and then I'll ask for all of the guests to please stand. But Roland Jabbour, from the National Chairman of the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Honorary Consul of Morocco in Melbourne. Tania Militek, Peace Research Fellow, University of Melbourne and past Rotary Peace Scholar. Julia Ogus is a Rotary Exchange Scholar. Welcome, Julia. And Sebastian Antone, a former Rotary Young Achiever. We're also going to be doing two inductions today, Will and Pooja. And Pooja has her son with her today as well. And my guest, Rochelle Patterson. What I would ask is if all of the guests, if they could just stand, and we'll give you one round of acknowledgements. So everyone, please stand as a guest. Now we're getting to a formal part of the meeting. Pooja and Will, could you please come up for your induction? We have sponsors today, Peter Berg for Pooja, and sponsor Chris Soteropoulos, past president, for Will. They could also come up. Pooja and Will, we welcome you as members of the Rotary Club of Melbourne. Today, you enter an organisation of more than 1.2 million people in close to 37,000 clubs in 221 countries, embracing the internationality of Rotary. We believe that you have the personal and professional qualities that will ensure the principles of Rotary will be safe in your keeping. The Rotary badge you'll receive in a moment, I hope you'll wear with pride, and indicates your commitment to the object of Rotary to which we all aspire, to encourage the ideal of service above self. We expect that you will become ambassadors for us to the community in which you live, and we ask that you convey Rotary's aims in all that you do. We look forward to you pursuing with us the great work of Rotary, and so with this expectation, I offer you the right hand of fellowship and ask the members to rise and join me in welcoming you to our club.
Catherine, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the membership of the club, Pooja Roy Gangappadhyay. Pooja came to live in Melbourne from Kolkata 2 years ago and has had extensive experience in various roles in India in education management, financial services and insurance. Pooja currently holds the position of Operations Manager and Registrar at Texler College Australia and will have the classification of Education and Training. I'll be Pooja's mentor at Rotary Melbourne and she will be a member of Central One Group, is joining the leadership team on the Rotary Save Families Inclusive Communities Initiative and will be known in the club as Pooja. So thank you.
Thank you. Should I say something?
Yes.
A very good afternoon to the prestigious members of Melbourne Rotary Club. I'm very honored here to stand in front of you with gratitude and humility, and honored to be pinned today as the induction goes on for me. My legacy with Rotary has been through Innoville Club of India, which is the female counterpart of Rotary, and we often interacted in India with the club. Was there for 10 years, and I'm so blessed that I found my footing through Peter, accidentally met at an entrepreneurs meet, and I found Rotary, the logo on his name tag, and I approached him, and that's the journey from there to today, standing in front of you, being inducted by our President, Catherine. Thank you very much, one and all, for accepting me. I hope to show my zeal and endeavor to perform as you have performed and taken the club a long way to go. Before closing, I would like to thank a few people, Peter particularly for inducting me and giving me the inspiration, Bernie for meeting me for a coffee and getting me inducted further, and foremost, thank you, President Catherine, for accepting me here. Thank you very much. I would like to finish by saying, in India, we say Atma Deepa Bhava, which means light that keeps shining in your heart. And to me, Rotary Melbourne is the light that I would like to keep shining in my heart. Thank you very much.
President Catherine, it gives me much pleasure to introduce for membership Will Abdo. who holds the position of Trade and Business Consultant and will have the classification of Business Development Executive. He will be a member of Central One Group and will be known in the club as Will. His mentor will be past President Robert Fisher. I've known Will for many years and have been amazed at his active involvement in community organisations, including the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Australian Lebanon Chamber of Commerce, language advisor to the board of Deakin University, recipient of the Ambassador of Peace Award by the Universal Peace Federation, which has a UN consultative status, and has attended over a dozen meetings of Rotary Melbourne in the past year. So he will be a fine addition to our club. Thank you.
Thank you, President Catherine, and I'm privileged and honoured to be inducted into the Rotary Club of Melbourne, and would like to express my sincere thank you to Dr. Chris Sotropoulos and Stephen Rando for their sponsorship and for their support with my application and for introducing me to this esteemed organisation. Ever since my introduction to the Rotary Club of Melbourne, I must say the consistent warm receptions, present engagements and the professionalism that I have experienced at this esteemed club and with the team is truly next level. I am grateful and looking forward to taking this model of excellence in communications to the world further with you to achieve a more harmonious, prosperous and peaceful world. I'm honoured to be with you on this important occasion of commemorating the United Nations International Day of Peace with our special guest, Mr. David Cardona. Allow me to be really honest for a minute here, but I don't want to embarrass or humble anybody. It is just a question. If we were to collectively, as a humanity, step back a little and ask our planet, how are you? We can expect to respond, I'm not doing well. Indeed, expert opinions indicates that this is the case. Sustainability challenges, constant armed conflicts, inequality, global warming, rising sea levels, transnational drug trafficking, geopolitical competition, extremism, refugees, terrorism. With all these issues going on, what if our planet decides it wants a divorce? Where do we go? And it begs the question on our ethical relationship with our planet and indeed with each other. It's high time that we started collectively working perhaps on our planet rather than in our planet. So I look forward to working with you on addressing the challenges on hand and to making our planet a more peaceful and happier home for all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome Rob McGurk to the stage to give us an update around the Peace Bells.
It's with a great word, I must say, after 4 years of talking about it and lots of ups and downs and that came on the way, to announce that the bells are in the park as of 2 weeks ago. It's been a long journey and we haven't got enough time to talk about it. I've only got a couple of minutes to explain a little bit about it too, but we're very pleased to have it in place for International Day of Peace, which is on this Saturday. So you're all welcome to come to the park at 11 o'clock on Saturday to look at the bells and commit to what your steps to peace will be. And just to mention the background, with the peace bells, which I was talking about with Damien when we went to visit them this morning, our bells, which were formed, the first one was in 1954 at the UN, and there's 3 in Australia now. There's one in Canada, which was put in 1992. There's one in Canberra, which went in 2018. And there's one in Albury Wodonga, which went in 2022. So these bells are slightly different because they are built to commemorate the end of the war. They are cast bells, and they're there to be run on the International Day of Peace when it's supposed to stop on that day and there's no conflict. Well, we can only cross our fingers and hope that will happen. But when we were looking to do the bells that we had in the park, we were looking to try and create a public interface for the City of Melbourne to recognise Rotary Melbourne's commitment over quite a number of years to the city and the work that it's been doing. So the idea came up during COVID of saying, what can everybody do in terms of peace? In COVID, we were locked up. It was hard to imagine we could do anything really. But the idea came up that we can all do things within ourselves and our communities. So that's where the concept of the 4 steps to peace came up. But number one, we have to be at peace within ourselves, because how else can we be peaceful and interact people if we're not peaceful and calm within ourselves? Number 2, particularly was relevant during COVID, the most important people to you were the people in Melbourne who we know, well, you're locked down with for 300 days. So you had to ensure that that's your peaceful home and safe haven. The 3rd step was to make sure that the interactions you have with all the different communities, such as organisations like Rotary or your clubs or your other communities, you make sure that that connection is as peaceful as you can make it with your communications and how you act. And the 4th one is the big one, which is to be at peace with all nations and all lands. So that covers the environment. We must be at peace with the world, as has been mentioned by Will, that, unless we're at peace with our world, it's not going to be here. And also with all nations, which brings in Indigenous and all different cultures as well. So that's where that concept came up. So it's in the same vein as the World Peace Bells, but it's our own unique one that we've come up with through Rotary. And the design is unique as well. Neil McLaughlin's here today, the designer. Neil, if you want to stand up. So, for those who did the Federation Bells on Bill, which was a $2 million project for the Federation celebration. So did children's garden in Docklands, which has children's bells as well as flowers. So we're lucky. Neil had come up with this concept of doing aluminium bells, which hadn't been done before. So they're obviously much lighter, cheaper, and easier to manufacture, but very difficult to tune. So he devised a way of tuning them with ribs inside. So this is a world first as well. This has not been done before anywhere. Those bells are unique. So they are very special. So anyway, it's been a hell of a journey. And if you have another 3 or 4 hours, I'll tell you a lot of stories about it and all the problems. But anyway, we won't go there. But anyway, we're really pleased to have them there for International Day of Peace, and hope you can all get down there on Saturday to ring them as well and make your commitments to what you will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. I'd now like to welcome Trevor Ning to the stage to talk about Around the Bay.
Thank you, President Catherine. The Around the Bay bike ride is going on the 6th of October, and it's in support, our project is in support of disadvantaged children. Under the leadership of Chris Rodd, who is here today, a team of Rotary riders will be taking place. So it's Chris Rodd, Susan Davis, Richard Parker and Adrian Bone representing us as the team Rotary riders. We encourage all members to get alongside the team and support them with pledges that will raise money for the Smith family to go to the needy children. And sorry, Carol, I have Carol written in on pencil and I forgot to read it. Well done, Carol. 100 Ks and not 50. And if we get alongside the team and support them, we'll raise money for the Smith family to go to the needy children and their education. So on each table, there are pledge sheets, Excel spreadsheets. If you would care to fill them in with a pledge yourselves, that would be fabulous support for this program that has been going 20 years now within the club. So thanks for your ongoing generosity. And here is our Team Rotary captain.
Very quickly,
Richard's on my table, and each of the 5 riders in our group have been stage winners in the Giro d'Italia or the Tour de France. And we are saying that the more money you raise, the faster we ride. Richard's assured me that from Portsea to Melbourne, he can average about 45 to 50 Ks an hour. So we're expecting a lot of money from you guys. Thanks, guys.
All right, and just in notices, next week is the grand final lunch. So we have 2 very special guests for that. Mr. Stephen McBurney, head of the AFL umpiring, and Adrian Anderson, the vice president of the Melbourne Cricket Club. They're going to be both very well placed to talk about the game. Make sure you bring your team colours and bring a friend. There will be a footy quiz with a magnificent trophy and prizes to the winning table. A big thank you to all that participated in the membership survey. We'll have a full report. It's going to the board tonight and will be circulated in the next day or two to give you feedback around what that survey told us. I also just wanted to touch on the Melbourne University project that I had the privilege of attending last Saturday. I was proud to attend the closing afternoon of the South Sudanese Diaspora Peace Leadership Program. The 3-day workshop was funded by Rotary Melbourne and conducted by the University of Melbourne as an initiative for peace. And it drew 30 emerging South Sudanese community leaders from around Australia. They not only shared a wide range of innovative initiatives designed to support social harmony in their communities here in Australia, but also in South Sudan. And they really learned how to promote positive peace. Through the involvement of Rotary Club of Melbourne alongside Rotary Clubs of Central Melbourne and Balwyn, connections were forged that will enable nearby Rotarians to provide support. I personally was inspired to observe the unity of purpose, confidence created among the participants, and the impressive facilitation skills of Rotary Peace Fellows and Tanya Militek, who is here with us today. Congratulations, Tanya. It was an amazing event. Just want to stand up. Yeah, just stand up for us, Tanya. Absolutely amazing event. All right, now I'll pass over to Carol, who will be our chairperson for today.
Thank you, President Catherine. It is my very great privilege to provide an introduction for our guest speaker today, Damien Cardona-Onces, Director of the United Nations Information Centre in Canberra. Mr. Cardona has more than 26 years of experience in strategic communications, crisis communications, outreach, and campaigns within the United Nations system. Before his appointment to Canberra in 2022, he served as UN Information Centre Director in Dakar, Senegal, covering French-speaking Africa, and in Bogota, covering Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela. In 2021, he was seconded to the UN verification mission in Colombia as Chief of Strategic Communications and Public Information. He has also served in peacekeeping missions in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Mali, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Mr. Cardona is also Chief of Media Relations and spokesperson for the UN Stabilization Mission in Haiti and Special Advisor to the Special Representative of the Secretary General. It is our very great privilege to have Damien with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Next week in New York, we have the Summit of the Future and the General Assembly, the high-level week, in where presidents, kings, crown princes, presidents of government, prime ministers from around the world gather in New York. In the late 40s, because of the nature of the United Nations, a very simple protocol was adopted. So nobody gets offended if they are not mentioned. Can you imagine now 193 countries if you have to mention them all? So let me use the United Nations protocol today and just salute President Catherine, who is the one presiding our meeting today. Excellencies, for those that are or think they are excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen in general for the rest of us. So anyway, it's my real privilege, and I say it from the bottom of my heart, to be here today. I've been involved with Rotary activities for so many years in many countries. I mean, you are everywhere. You are more present at the UN all over the world. I mean, in Haiti, there is a Rotary Club, several Rotary clubs in Haiti, in Mozambique, all over the world. And we have really partnered because we share the same soul, I believe. The United Nations was created in 1945, and I think all of you have a copy of the Charter of the United Nations. I wanted to really give it to you, and I really love this booklet. It has this really old-fashioned design. My mother studied law, and I remember at home, she had this one, and it hasn't changed. But the values inside are permanent. And as I said before, the Rotary Club and the United Nations share the main objective of what the United Nations was created for, world peace. And if we read, and I need my glasses for that, the preamble of the Charter in page 3, there is a most beautiful invitation, and you have to think where we were in 1945. I'm just going to quote very, very short. To reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women, and of nations large and small. We are determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind. When we talk about culture of peace, that we'll be talking in a little while, we think about those people that wrote this charter, one Australian amongst them, that have suffered 2 world wars. Sometimes it's difficult for those of us that have been lucky enough to haven't lived in our own countries, although we have seen around a war, how difficult it is to explain why this is so important. We always say that war can be created in a minute, and peace takes sometimes decades to be consolidated. And it's very difficult to explain to young people, many of you are teaching in universities, what is the value of peace if you have not experienced in your own life the other side of the coin, which is war. So, but it is our challenge to defend peace, even without having experienced the struggles of war. Let me see if I can do this right. I think I have to do it with okay. You know the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals were established in the year 2015, and they have a target of 15 years until 2030, and it's a global agenda. The agenda of the Millennium Development Goals that went from 2000 to 2015 was an agenda only for developing countries. Okay, it was sort of top down. You know, they were created actually in a week by Jeffrey Sachs and former Secretary General Kofi Annan with a lot of goodwill, but they were not universal. They were not for everybody. One of the amazing things of the global agenda that we have now is that they are applicable for everybody, for Canada, for South Africa, for South Sudan, and for the United States, for Australia, and for Afghanistan. Even though Afghanistan may want to be in the international community, but still, they apply to them. And Sustainable Development Goal 16 talks about promoting peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, providing access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. I mean, that sounds very ambitious, but it is at the base of what can we do and how can we work to achieve sustainability, which the word sustainability now, we just mention it like this all the time, but it's as important as humanity. If humanity is not sustainable, that's it. We're done. So that's the best important. But I would say that not only goal 16, goal 17, which is about partnership, is so important for Rotary Club around the world. Goal 17 asks about all different sectors of society. Very happy to see Kate from Global Compact today with us. All sectors of society, private sector, non-governmental organization, foundations, institutions, universities, together with governments. If there is no synergy amongst everybody, the success will be much far away from where it should be. So I think 16 and 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals are what is so important for us. Cultivating a culture of peace. Culture of peace is even more important than peace itself, I would say. A culture of peace, and I say it in the beautiful city of Melbourne. Don't tell anybody, but I've been 2.5 years in Australia, and it is my favorite city in Australia. And I come here, and the culture of the city is amazing, and the vibrant multicultural society that lives in Melbourne is amazing. But culture of peace, as I said, is even more important than peace itself, because if we do not educate our children, our young people, in really taking conscience of how important peace is, we will never achieve. Because peace, as I said at the beginning, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to be built inside our spirits, our souls, our brains. But it also has to be taught in a way that peace is more efficient. Peace makes life easier than war does. So we really have to find ways to explain to the younger generation why peace is so important. There is a description which I really like and I would like to share with you. There was a declaration of UNESCO, which is the specialized agency of the United Nations in charge of education, culture, and science. There is a declaration and program of action on a culture of peace. And it says, it's not only the absence of conflict, but also requires a positive, dynamic, participatory process where dialogue is encouraged, conflicts are solved in a spirit of mutual understanding and cooperation. There is one even a statement that allow me to share with you, because I really believe on that statement. Wars begin in the minds of men. So in the minds of men, that the defenses of peace might be constructed. And I think this is really deep inside what we are celebrating this week. This week, today in Melbourne and all over the world on Saturday. Well, Australia is always behind everybody, in advance that everybody else. So we'll be celebrating International Peace Day before almost everywhere else in the world. But I was really impressed this morning, and I have to say that when Rob took me to the bells, and I was lucky to hear that I was lucky to be here today, because a month ago the bells will not be there. But I think that park, that corner, it's a cornerstone of the botanical garden, and there's all these trees planted by so many people in the Rotary Club that has believed and made their lives at the service of peace. And then all of a sudden, these very kind of unique shaped bells that you don't understand very much what it is, but when you read what they are, and they go from a smaller to the bigger one, it's really, really amazing. And I want to really, from deep in my heart, congratulate Rotary Melbourne for having done such a unique. I've seen these bells in many countries in the world, many bells that do not ring because there is no reason for it. But I think this park in Melbourne has something very, very special, and I'm sure it's going to become a big symbol of the city and the soul of the city of Melbourne. And I would like to share also with you a few elements that many universities, think tanks, media, including social media institutions. There has been the United Nations and the Secretary General in particular has a lot of using his good offices and soft diplomacy skills, gathered many relevant people in a very discreet way. And there is a series of adjectives that define what culture of peace should be, or what is needed to build peace. And I think it's, I was reading some of the articles and documents that they shared with me from Rotary Club before coming here, and I saw so many synergies. To build peace, we need to be supportive. We need to be empathetic. We need to be inventive, like the bells. I mean, there's a new way to present what a bell of peace is. We need to be passionate. We need to believe in what we're doing. And above all, we need to be cooperative. And I think all those elements are so Rotarian as they can be. And I think I don't need to explain them to you because you have them embedded in your DNA already. Let me go back for a second to the Charter of the United Nations. And if you go to page 24, you have the two chapters that deals with peace. We have chapter 6, that is the peaceful settlements of dispute before they arise. And then we have chapter 7, which is the one that requires action with respect to threats to the peace, breaches of the peace, and acts of aggression. Those two are the chapters that the international community gave to the United Nations. What is the United Nations? The United Nations, I belong to the Secretariat of the United Nations, that beautiful building built on the land next to the East River in New York that was given by the Rockefeller family to the United Nations. And it's international territory from the 42nd Street to the 48th, from the East River to the First Avenue. And that was where the UN headquarters, the General Assembly, the Security Council, and the Secretariat are. But who is in charge when it comes to peace of in the United Nations? It's not the Secretary General, it's the Security Council. And we have been facing in the past many years, I would say, in particular, the past 30 years, since the war in Iraq, that, you know, the Secretary General can use his good officers, can use soft diplomacy, can convene people to build a better world, if you allow me this romantic statement. But when it comes to the reality, is the Security Council. I mean, a country like Russia is a permanent member of the Security Council. And it was presiding the Security Council, because there's rotational, when Russia invaded Ukraine. The United States have also, like the other 5 countries, the veto power to stop many of the proposals to stop war or to build peace. But we have to think, and many people are thinking, that the United Nations were created, and you can see the booklet, in 1945 by our grandparents, parents or grandparents. But now they are supposed to serve our grandchildren with the structures that were conceived almost 80 years ago. Next year it will be 80 years of the United Nations, 80 years of the end of the Second World War. So maybe things have to be changed, because you cannot work with 1945 tools, the challenges of the 21st century. I was telling some of yesterday at a wonderful dinner here with some Rotarians, wonderful, diverse group of people, and very enriching dinner. And I told them about a big conference that we were doing in Brisbane, not in Melbourne, in Brisbane, at Griffith University, with the European Union in November, about disinformation. Disinformation, I can see my Greek friend there that also deals with these challenges, is something that the level of sophistication of the means, the speed of its dissemination didn't exist before. And now the United Nations next week is going to adopt the Global Digital Compact to try to moderate, or to try to at least soften a little bit the impacts of disinformation that is threatening democracy. People cannot take decisions, sound decisions, if the information that they receive, they don't know if it's true or false. We all witnessed the damage of disinformation in public health during the pandemic. And there are so many threats that were not here in 1945, but the UN has to deal with it now. Climate change. Nobody was worried about that issue 80 years ago. And now the United Nations, who else? Maybe Rotary, because it's bigger than us. You mentioned, I think, 221 countries, I think. And we have 193 member states in the United Nations. Who else but the United Nations could deal with the challenges to mitigate? Because I think it's too late to solve it, but at least to mitigate the challenges of climate change. And as Will said, that is a very good question. When we ask the planet, how are you today? What will be the answer in terms of climate, in terms of peace, in terms of disinformation and human rights? There's really too many challenges. I don't know, please, I think we have to go a little bit. Let me show you these videos, UNESCO. I think it's very just wanted to share this message from UNESCO on the conference in Luanda, in Angola, because it was a big moment of changing the way culture of peace had to be aligned and how had to be, the approaches changed a lot. And it was great that it was born in the heart of Africa with all these initiatives. I think we're running out of time, so I'm just going to go very quickly to just listen.
Everywhere we look, peace is under attack. From Gaza to Sudan to Ukraine and beyond, we see civilians in the firing line, homes blown apart, traumatized, terrified populations who have lost everything and sometimes everyone. And this catalogue of human misery must stop. Our world needs peace. Peace is the ultimate prize for all humanity. And as this International Day of Peace reminds us, the solutions are in our hands. Cultivating a culture of peace means replacing division, disempowerment, and despair with justice, equality, and hope for all. It means focusing on preventing conflict, propelling the Sustainable Development Goals, promoting human rights, and tackling all forms of discrimination and hate. This month's Summit of the Future is a vital opportunity to advance these aims. Let's seize it. Together, let's lay the groundwork for peace, and let's nurture a culture where equality, peace, and justice thrive. Thank you.
I wanted to finish with the words of our Secretary General. I think it's time to some exchanges. I'm sorry, I didn't exactly know how long the presentation was supposed to be, so I prepared it a little bit longer, but it's fine. I think the messages went through, and I think exchange is more important than unidirectional messages.
Well, I'm sure you all join me in thanking Damien for bringing a message of peace and hope and unity for our global communion. And I'd like to invite those of you who might have questions about how we might update our understanding, our 80-year-old understanding of what it means to have peace in this world, and perhaps dig into a little bit of this a fight against disinformation, which threatens democracies all over the world. Bernie, if you would kindly have the mic. Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation. I think the point you made about information and disinformation being able to affect the democratic process is a really important one. I guess my question is, who decides what's information and what's disinformation?
Well, the big distinction, like scholars now use, is misinformation is information that is not correct. You know, I mean, facts. Sorry, can you hear me? Disinformation is fake news or misinformation, but spread with an intention to harm, you know, to lie and to influence the decisions of the others. I mean, but what I said before, disinformation has existed for decades. Second World War, Goebbels, all the propaganda they did to create this hate against Jewish people at that time, and it has existed already. But the thing is, what is worrying, and really, the Secretary General said that if we continue with this level of disinformation, is as dangerous for societies as a nuclear weapon. I mean, you see videos that you don't know if they're true or they are not. You know, everything can be, I've seen myself factories, companies in Africa, in Mali, in Central African Republic, with hundreds of young people in front of a computer just creating fake news. And it's becoming an incredible business in Russia, for example, also in Baltic countries. I mean, it's incredible. And of course, that's the problem. Let me just finish with something. When I was a kid, I used to do my homework in my grandparents' house, which lived quite near my home. And they had this huge encyclopedia of 100+ volumes. And when I was doing my homework, if there was something I didn't understand, I would go to the letter L, open it, and read it, and I knew that I could put it in my homework because that was right. Now you Google everything, but what comes out of it, you don't know. I mean, you have to fact check what's happening, and there's lots of challenges, lots.
Thank you, David. Damien, do you think it might help world peace if the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, came together and publicly declared that in this day and age, in the 21st century, all three have equal worth and status?
I was just talking before about the World Council of Religions that happened in my home city in Barcelona in Spain many years ago. I think religions and culture and religion has a lot to do, because I mean it goes to the heart of people, and and that's in the heart, as I said before, where peace can be built. So in the minds and the heart, it has to be a combination of both. So religion dialogue. The UN has a very interesting project for probably 25 years called Alliance of Civilizations that encourage the dialogue among the three monotheistic religions, but also other religions or other groups that are involved around the world.
I think that's all the time we have for now. I'm sure you can buttonhole Damien on your way out if you have another burning question. But I'd like to thank you, Damien, for your time today. We know you're a very busy man and have many occasions to attend. And we'd like to present you with this gift of our Rotary Club of Melbourne, which has the gift of Rotary socks, which are 200% Australian made in Preston by our very old past president Phil Endersby from Wilderness Wear. We also have a centenary coin and a history of the Club of Melbourne. And there is a bicycle in the shape of a pizza cutter as well. So thank you very much. Will you all please give a warm thank you to Damien. Thank you. Thank you. So in closing, I would like to thank our many visitors and guests for attending today. There's a wonderful crowd. It's lovely to see the hall filled up today. I'd like to thank MC Bernie McIntosh and for their reflections, Cheryl Lacey, and our lunch setup and reception teams for their weekly effort in making this meeting happen. Please, if you can stay back a few minutes to assist with the pack up, they would be most appreciative. And as a reminder, next week, as mentioned by President Catherine, is our annual grand final lunch, to which you are all most warmly invited. We will return here at number 35 with a special guest panel featuring Stephen McBurney, head of AFL umpiring, and Adrian Anderson, vice president of the Melbourne Cricket Club. We look forward to a conversation on AFL management, and our football quiz will be returning. So do wear your colors, invite a guest, and join us.